that's retail co-ops. There are other different types. And we've seen quite a strong growth from 12.8 in 2010 to 14.9 million people who are members in one way or another. So the phone co-op is another example of a retail cooperative. The people who buy their phone connection or buy a mobile phone contract or buy a broadband connection can become members of the co-op, then elect the management committee. And the turnover of co-ops in the UK has grown from 32 to 37 billion. So that's a reasonable chunk of the UK's economy. And as we can see here, a large sort of contributor of that growth is these energy co-ops. And we in the UK, we have a particular legal structure called a Community Benefit Society, which is for the first time enshrining in particular law the idea of community ownership of either an asset like land or a service like energy or phone. Another big growth area has been in health and social care, and this is partly driven by the emergence of public sector mutuals. So that is people working who used to work in the public sector who've now spun out. So they're no longer they form workers' cooperatives essentially, but they sell their services. Whether it's so, for instance, the standard example is community nursing, and it's a very good example because community nursing is so these are nurses who don't work in hospitals. They work in the community. They go and visit people in their homes. They may hold a clinic in a GP surgery once a month or something like that. But they're mainly working in the community rather than in a hospital or healthcare setting. And so community nurses have, in quite a lot of cases, grouped together and said to the health authority, okay, we're spinning out, we're forming a mutual, and you will commission us to provide a community nursing service. Again, another reason why community nursing is a good example for spinning out is that it is fairly clear, fairly easy to decide what exactly is the service that is being provided. And this is important for commissioning, for the people who are paying for you to provide the service. So they grow their own food on those farms, and then the food is made into it's either made into products or it's not. It might be just sold as vegetables. But having said that, the cooperative sector in the UK has suffered recently because there's been a major scandal with the cooperative bank. Again, this is a membership co-op. If you bank with a co-op bank, you have the right to elect well, you used to, no longer, because of this major scandal, and that's had a really bad effect on the sector. So one of the lessons that people are learning is about scale of operation and about very often when you get very large-scale organisations like the cooperative bank dealing with very large sums of money, accountability tends to get forgotten sometimes, and that's what happens in the UK, unfortunately. Okay, another example of staying on agricultural co-ops, a different example of a sort of sustainable sustainability and social enterprise is it again from Cuba. In Cuba, they had, well, still have, a large number of farming co-ops. So what happened was, again, this is another good reason for including the idea of public sector social enterprises in the lexicon, because what happened in Cuba was that previously the state owned all the land and owned all the farms, and people worked on them. Then the state then handed those, because the state-run enterprises were performing so badly in managing the farms, they handed them over to the farmers as agricultural co-ops. But what, unfortunately, they did was, when they handed them over, they also handed over very ancient machinery. So this is a very old tractor. It's not going anywhere, so don't worry, it's not going to run over the sheep. And in Cuba, they call these old, dead tractors ghost tractors. And a new enterprise has sprung up recently after the normalization of relations between Cuba and the USA. So this is the first joint investment company between the USA and Cuba, manufacturing very basic tractors. And this is for, especially for small farms of about 100 acres. I don't know does anybody know how that would translate into your unit of area? I'm not. So? Square meters, yes. Yeah, I don't know how many square meters, but you know, a smallish farm. So 100 acres would probably be sort of 3 or 4 fields, I should think. And it's designed to be super adaptable. So there are all sorts of bits that sort of fit on for different farming functions. It is also very easy to maintain. And it's manufactured using what they call an open source manufacturing model. So one of the characteristics of Cuban life is that people have become very ingenious at fixing things. And so they have designed this new tractor to be easily fixed you know, in a variety of different ways. It also illustrates, I mean, this is more, if you like, a social business rather than a social enterprise in a sense, but I mean, it still sort of sits within the lexicon of social enterprises. But it, the founders have stressed that if you're setting up an enterprise in Cuba, you always have to emphasize what are the, you know, what are the social benefits, what are the social returns on the investment. And it's called an ogun because that is the name of one of the Orishas, which is Santeria gods. So Santeria is the Afro-Cuban spiritualist religion. Okay, so from the sublime to the super sublime, or super ridiculous, depending on your way of looking at it. One of the I'm looking now at the support that the UN is giving, in particular to the world of social enterprise, and it's coming very much through the what is called the UN Global Compact, which is a way that the UN has developed of working with the big corporates and follow the instructions of the. Oh, we don't have to evacuate? Oh, good. Oh, I thought we would have to evacuate. All right, good. But if there's a noise, it's not just me. Okay, so the Global Compact. They've got SDG pioneers. So they're trying to enrol the corporates into implementing various different elements of the Sustainable Development Goals. And some of the ways in which they're doing this, they've got a business action hub. This is a platform where UN agencies and businesses can engage in dialogue. So a lot of sustainable development is partly funded through and partly enabled through major corporates. And another way is what's called the Inclusive Business Hub, the Practitioner Hub for Inclusive Business. So this is a label. Inclusive business is essentially a label for business that is working in the less developed countries in a socially responsible manner. So we're including within that the sort of elements of corporate social responsibility. We're including within that social businesses. Their return, their financial return, within about 5 years. That's the standard for angel investors and venture capital funds. And with impact investments, which is now becoming really, especially in the US, it's becoming very mainstream. You know, most business schools in the United States now will have a part of their curriculum will be on impact investment, and it is very popular. Students are demanding to be taught impact investment. So with impact investment, there is a financial return and there is a social, environmental, governance return. You know, a non-financial or an extra financial return. And one of the issues that is emerging is that some people argue that the ways of evaluating social, environmental, governance impact, ways of evaluating the non-financial impact are being driven by the investors, not by the people who are being affected by the enterprise. So, for instance, there are a series of indicators. There's GRII or GIRI, I can't remember the exact name of it, that was developed by Acumen, which has fed into the way in which B Corps are evaluated, and it has also fed into the what are called the ESG, the environment, social and governance indicators that are traded. They're sold by Bloomberg. You know, Bloomberg, big business information network in the United States. They sell business data, or information rather, I should say. They sell business information, and they have pioneered the sale, the purchase, and the collection, and then the sale of indicators about companies' environmental, social, and governance performance. So that's the environmental performance, that's fairly obvious. Social performance is things like working conditions, and governance is the level of accountability, traceability, transparency of an organisation. The debate, one of the key debates, is about the extent to which it should be the impact investors who are driving the ways in which social impact is evaluated, or should it be the people who are benefiting, who are the beneficiaries of of a venture's work. And one of there are examples of what is called participatory impact assessment, and this comes from the world of international development. So we've sort of come back to the origins of the Sustainable Development Goals, in a sense. So this is an example where an organisation who is trying to evaluate its social impact works directly with the beneficiaries, participates with the beneficiaries to collectively together develop the indicators that those beneficiaries feel would really show that the venture is having a positive effect on their livelihoods. Okay, so that's participatory impact assessment. And I mentioned before, again, one of the sort of debates and one of the worrying features about the power, because impact investors, all investors have immense power in any economic relationship. Another of the sort of debates and issues is the way in which markets are understood by impact investors. And the argument is that impact investors have a fairly poor understanding of the reality of particular markets, especially, for instance, the markets for solar lamps. Okay? So you're talking about a situation where people are gathering in the village square, and a situation in which it's not entirely clear whether they're paying to have to stand there or not. There might be a market manager, might be somebody who collects the fees, there might not. There might be somebody who is vetting, who is deciding who should be able to sit in the marketplace or not. You don't know about, especially the sort of basic type of market. You don't know until you go and see, very often. And another approach that has been developed this time by an organisation called Practical Action is participatory market systems development. An area being strongly pushed by the United Nations Global Compact, and also through the International Labour Organization and other organisations, is market systems development. How do you develop the markets for cook stoves? Cook stoves that are innovative, new, that are environmentally friendly. How do you develop the markets for solar lamps, or for solar panels on the roofs of buildings, or for eye cataract operations, whatever? And in a similar manner to participatory impact assessment, participatory market systems development works with all of the people who have a stake in that market. And that might be the market managers, might be people who are setting the rules, the law in that particular area, and very often you don't know exactly how the law is enforced in a particular area. So you might have to talk to the police, you might have to talk to the army, you might have to talk to whoever. You don't know until you go and look. Nearly there. Financial inclusion, financial sustainability is another element of sustainable development. And I just wanted to mention credit unions. Very often credit unions are again on a cooperative model. So this is a very famous credit union called Van City. It is based in Vancouver, hence the name Van City. It's huge. Its assets are hundreds of millions no, actually billions of assets. And so it is owned by its savers, the people who save with it, and they invest in the community, and the people who. So the way that a credit union works, it's different from from a traditional bank or a traditional lender, you have to save first before you can borrow. That's generally the way that a credit union works. So it's encouraging, it's also encouraging sort of responsible household management. So it's encouraging people to save. And so yes, credit unions are a sort of financial co-op, if you like, or a financial services co-op. And this is in Spanish, and in case you can't read it, I've translated it. Very often, so money, governance, local, who are the stakeholders in managing a local market, and very often what will be needed, and this is the final sort of example of social enterprise. So this is a civil society organisation which trains people in responsible public management, democratic, open, transparent public management. And so that's often another sort of element of the ecosystem for social enterprises, is to try and slowly change the local public management of the enterprise is based in. I think. Oh yes. Now I've just got two more comments. The approach, particularly my interest in and my emphasis of things like participatory market systems development and participatory impact assessment is informed. The sort of academic research basis for a lot of this sort of these approaches is informed by anthropological work on how are people coping with the consequences of globalization. This particular set of essays, the anthropological research studies, analyses how are people getting by. And very often it is by working together to develop their own answers to particular situations. And another academic sort of input is a body of work originating in Australia on what are called diverse economies. So it's opening up the world of market economics to different perspectives, different focuses, and arguing that the traditional sort of neoclassical picture of the way that markets work can be informed by lots of different emphases and inputs. And I think that's it. You've been really patient with me. Thank you so much. I'm really happy to, as I said, all of the slides are available. I did say it right at the beginning, but I noticed some people came in. All of the slides will be available from a downloadable link on Dropbox. If you get in touch with the British Council, they will send you the link. I should have included it here, really. I forgot. Okay, so I'm really open to questions or comments or feedback. Any sort of any contributions from anybody are more than welcome.
So my name is Bank. I'm studying at Thomas University. As you were explaining about a lot of social enterprises, and then I noticed something that most of the social enterprise came from only the global north and global south. And my question is, as a Thai person, should Thailand focus on social development or just focus on to overcome the middle income trap? Because as we are the upper middle income countries, but as I saw in these slides, the social enterprise only came from the global north, the big country, and also the least developing country.
Yes, I mean you're absolutely. It's a really good point. So you're asking if I've understood. Can I just check if I've understood you correctly? Given that I have concentrated on social enterprises from the global north, or the Global South. What do I think that Thailand should concentrate on? A model. So I think it is entirely feasible for social enterprises to be developed in Thailand, which are operating, say for instance, along the model of Belu. So Belu is a social enterprise that originates in the global north, and its income is then used to fund work, development work around water aid in the global south. There's no reason why enterprises in Thailand couldn't work in exactly the same way, which are bottom-up, more sort of bottom-up approaches. Does that answer your question? Or did you have another question?
I feel that as I did a research about Thailand, we get over just a middle income just 5 years ago, but we cannot get over the middle income trap. So should we focus on maybe making oriented companies to make Thailand to get more income? But in this same thing that you told, the bottom-up enterprise should be the answers for this.
I think one of the interesting debates in the area of sustainable development is about economic growth, and I think that the inevitability of economic growth is being questioned, partly by the Sustainable Development Goals themselves. So, as I said right at the beginning, it was interesting that the Sustainable Development Goal that's focused on sustainable forms of production and consumption was the least in demand from people at this meeting or other. I think that the question of the extent to which people in Thailand should pursue economic growth and to move above the middle income bracket is a policy question. It's a question about, well, what might be the costs of pursuing growth, economic growth, at the expense of social and environmental sustainability. So I think it's about, it's about balancing those three. I don't have any easy answers. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm also interested in forming my SE for my project called Better Thailand. It's going to be launched January 2017.
Wonderful.
Yes. But I think the purpose of the people here today, for me, included one. How we can form a SE in Thailand. What are the basic elements, I think in terms of the theory or in terms of your practical experience? What should be concerned? For me, I also concerned that how my SE business could be sustained financially. Should I have one bracket I saw on the slide for donation, or should I just delete the donation and try to make money and try to make the project? Should I, Dr. Richard, should I have a social purpose before I form the SE, or I can form the SE before and choosing what the social issue that I could concentrate? That's it. I think you might be able to advise. Thank you.
Sure. I think that to directly, so your question is, should you concentrate on the social mission? Should you concentrate on the sources of income? Was those the only two?
Yes.
Okay, good.
As a start.
Sorry?
As a start.
As a start. And on our course, what we teach as standard is that there are three issues. There's sources of income, there is legal structure, the structure of the venture, the company, the organization, and there is social purpose. And you negotiate, you navigate, you do an iterative sort of round the loop of those three to arrive at what is going to be best for your particular project. And there's no simple formula to say whether you should start with sources of income, or whether you should start with social purpose, or whether you should start with which legal and organisational structure you choose. So, I mean, with here, we've got a cooperative structure, we've got a traditional business structure, limited company, and we've got various different types of formerly state-owned enterprises as structures. There is no simple answer about which of those three is correct, because it depends upon exactly what you are intending, what service or product you're intending to provide, different. So this is part of mapping the potential market for whatever it is, the product or services that you're hoping to trade. And in some cases, it will be viable to be relying purely on trade. So Belu, the water social enterprise, relies purely on trade. They don't get any grants, they don't get any donations. They have got a business model which works, which relies on, which is based purely on trading. Other social enterprises have got very different ones. So, for instance, the community nurses who have formed a co-op, they know, and they are worried about it, that their principal, their only source of income is the local health authority, who is commissioning, paying